Hi there, Rich Weller here. What I'm about to show you is years in the making. And actually, I've spent about 8 hours today researching. So let's hop over now to the computer and let me show you what I've got. All right, so what I'm about to show you is you'll notice from the slide here, it says Dundas, Ohio Railroads. And again, years in the making and probably 8 hours today to pull this together. So the first question you may ask is, well, where is Dundas, Ohio? So if we bring up a map here, you can see Dundas is located in the southeast direction from Columbus, Ohio. It's located just north of Hamden and south of Macarthur, Ohio. And you may ask yourself, well, Rich, why is this so important to you? What's your vested interest in this railroads from Dundas in Dundas, Ohio? Well, you can see Dundas there on the map. Again, MacArthur is located a little bit north. You can see Hamden down here on the bottom. And the reason that's somewhat interesting to me, um, I'll explain by saying, well, I grew up right here. This was my father's home, Larry Weller. That's where that was my childhood home and where I grew up. And then my grandparents, Sam and Donna Weller, lived over here, just off on 683, just past Lake Rupert. And then my other grandparents, John and Lila Brown, lived just outside of Hamden, um, on the north side of Hamden, right here, as you can see, and right next to these railroad tracks. And these railroad tracks are still in use today. You can see the railroad line there. And as I was growing up, there was a siding here. And they were all the time, moving cars in and out of this siding off the main line onto the siding, onto the side track. And I always found that very interesting. And I think that's really what created my love for trains. And so again, we've got that's the background. So let's take this thing just a little bit farther forward as to where this all started. It all started with this picture right here. So you'll notice from this picture right here, this surfaced on the internet a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and you can see right here. This is Dundas, Ohio. You can see from this sign here on this building, and I knowing that it's Dundas, Ohio, I recognize that there are two rail lines here. You can see this one that's in the foreground, but you can also see another train crossing over this way. And I knew or know about these two rail lines in Dundas. And one again is in operation today, and the other one is the it's no longer there. The rail line itself is no longer there. You can see in places the old railroad bed. Um, but when I saw this picture, what I didn't understand or can't interpret from this picture is which rail line is which. I couldn't. You can't tell from this picture. Is this the existing track that's still in place, or is it this one that's running this way? Is this which is north, which is south, which is east, which is west? I couldn't tell from this picture, and so one day many years ago, my son and I parked there in Dundas along the railroad tracks and walked up the railroad bed to exactly where these two rail lines crossed. And it was a little bit difficult to find the old line from the line that still exists, but we did find the spot. Um, and there's nothing there. There's nothing there in this spot today where these two rail lines cross. The only thing that is there is trees. Now we didn't venture down off the railroad bed at all to poke around in the woods or anything, but there's nothing there that you can see. It's just growth, trees and brush. Nothing there except the main line that runs from Hamden through Dundas into Zaleski. So even going and looking at this spot today, or looking at that spot at that point in time, I couldn't tell. It didn't help me decipher where this building used to sit, and so it left a big mystery. And so I just to help you understand where these two rail lines are at, I'll show you this picture here. So this picture here is from Google Maps. And again, you can see the existing rail line that runs from Dundas here, Hamden is down here. This is the Dundas area here. We can see 93 and 324 coming in, and you can see the rail line that exists running here, south to north, north to south direction here. But what you can't see from this picture is the old rail line that no longer exists from this version of Google Maps. However, if you were to switch over to the satellite version and look at this map today, and I promise you, if you don't believe me, pull up Google, switch to this version of the map, and you'll be able to spot this rail line. And I know without the trained eye, it's hard to see. So I put a little line here so to help you see it. So I'll flash that off and on, and you can actually see from the tree line that exists. That is the old railroad bed that the rail line itself no longer exists, but the railroad bed does. And if you got on Google Maps, you could actually follow this rail line, the tree line of the old railroad bed up north pretty far, and even pretty far south. So anyhow, this right here is where those two lines come together. That's where that picture was from. But again, from that picture, what was driving me crazy is, where did that building sit? Which quadrant, which side of the rail of the two railroads did it sit within? And so I continued doing some research. I'm like, well, maybe if I could get an old map, um, and and so I found this map from 1899. So you can see this map here, and from this map you can see that they used to call this where these that spot Macarthur Junction. And so you can see the two rail lines coming together here. So here's one and that's in black, and then here's one that's in blue. And so I'm like, let me keep working on this. So I actually found another picture that's blown up. This is, you'll notice, from 1898, and it's showing just Benton County. So it's blown in a little bit. You can now see, or again see Macarthur Junction sitting here. You can see Hamden sitting here. You can see Macarthur up here, and then you can see Zaleski here. So here's that Macarthur Junction. Here's the line that currently or still exists today. This green line that's running from Hamden to Zaleski, and the line that's just the railroad bed runs through here, and it's the one that runs from Macarthur down into Orton and down that way. Again, the railroad bed, no longer a rail line there. And you also notice there's a CHV&T here that's naming this rail line, and that actually stands for Columbus, Hocking Valley, and Toledo Rail Line. So you can see their logo there. And then the green line, that is the B&O Southwest. So I was able to find their logo and add it here. And so now you can see those two rail lines and where they come together. But that still doesn't quite answer the question around, where did that building sit? So there it is. Still don't know, or are we looking, which rail line are we on? Are we on the CHV&T, or are we on the B&O? Are we sitting on the B&O rail line? And are we looking north, south, east, or west? That's what I can't tell from this picture, and even from the research that I've done thus far. So I did find the picture again, and I found this statement along with this picture, and it says the track crossing under the Pomeroy train, which again, it says the track crossing under the Pomeroy train belongs to the B&O. So what they're saying here is this train is headed to Pomeroy. It's basically on the CHV&T line, and this track is the B&O track. This one exists. This one is still in existence today. Okay, so but still, are we looking north or are we looking south? Where is that building sitting? Don't know. Yet another picture from the same angle, definitely many years further in time. It was from the same angle, but this one says again, it's a B&O F3, and that's apparently the train, the engine, and it's that too is stating that it is on the B&O track. So what we've learned from these two pictures is this right here, this rail line right here is the same as this one here, and it is the B&O line, and it is the line, the rail line, the tracks that are still in place today, running from Hamden to Zaleski. But north or south? Are we looking north or are we looking south? Is that train heading to Macarthur? Or excuse me, is that train heading to Zaleski or is it heading to Hamden? We don't know. We can't tell from this picture. So let's let's do a little more research here. Oh, I found this. I found this out there. It says the station was on Front Street between Second and Third Streets in Dundas. I'm like, okay, well, let's just go back to Google Maps and we'll figure out exactly where that was at. And so you'll notice that the current Google Maps, there's only a Second Street. There is no Third Street. So I dug around a little bit more and I found this map of Dundas from 1876, a map of Dundas from 1876. You'll notice that Route 93 is not pictured here, but we do have a second and a third street. And as I looked a little closer, sure enough, it says that there's a station, but that can't be the same location because we know from the pictures that those two rail lines were crossing, and we know from the maps that those two lines cross further north than what's shown in this picture. So apparently there were actually two different stations in Dundas at one point in time. And one here, which we know where this is at, this we know where this line is at. This 93, today comes here and then curves and goes up this way. Um, so this station here, the one that's between Front and Third Street, is not the station that's in that picture. It's not the building that's in that picture. So long goose chase here, and that not helpful. So again, I returned back and I got to looking at this picture again, and what I noticed was down here you'll see that there's a Hamden and a Hamden Junction. And I know that this Hamden is the Hamden station, and this Hamden Junction, this is where the rail line just outside of Hamden kind of splits. And this line goes down into Wellston. And if you go this way, it takes you out towards Chillicothe, where this line currently ties in to the main line that goes on over to Chillicothe. And so with that, that's what helped me realize, like, wait a minute, was a station in Hamden, and then there's this Hamden Junction where the two lines come together. So that's what this Macarthur Junction is. It's really where those two lines come together. Macarthur Junction is what it was called. Okay, so that helped me solve that mystery. But let's move a little farther forward. I found this picture, which says Dundas looking south, which you can see that building there, and we can see that it's Dundas looking south. But are we on the B&O, which would be going from Zaleski to Hamden, or are we on that CHV&T, which would be going from Macarthur to Orton? And that's what we again don't know at this point in time. But then I found this statement which says the interchange with the B&O is visible on the right. So you can see that interchange. What they're saying is this interchange it would allow a train to get off of the CHV&T, this line, back closer to us, and go across this interchange and get on the B&O. So with this information, we can now tell that that train, the end of that train, that train is heading south, and it's on the CHV&T line heading basically south or southeast, as you can see it in the picture now. You can better see that it's south and east. And then the tracks in the background, that's our B&O that's heading southwest. So that means this building is no longer there, but this building used to sit right here in this um, uh, southwest corner of where these two lines crossed at. So that building used to sit right here. No longer there today, nothing there today. And so I found another picture which says Dundas looking north. And that's a pretty cool picture. Back in the day, I would love to have seen that. Dundas looking north. So now I'm looking at this picture, and there's another one that's very similar, but it's just taken from a little farther away. So I'll flash back. You can see that somebody just walked farther away from that station, or from that building, I should say, and they took another picture. So you can see the cars that are sitting here in the background, and you can see the building. And as I looked at this picture, I'm like, oh, that looks very similar to if you're on 324, right there. There used to be, two, three, maybe even four tracks right there on 324 on the B&O line heading north. But then I found this statement, which says this is another shot of Dundas looking north, right? So that's what I was thinking. This is looking north, and it says the track on the left was a stub end track for the Wellston and Jackson Beltway. And I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, that's what they called it. But then what tripped me up next is it says the signal in the distance is a signal for the B&O crossing. So what they're saying here is this signal is for a northbound train, to make them aware of of the B&O crossing that is up ahead. So this turns out this picture is not taken from the B&O line. It's actually taken from that CHV&T line a little farther east, down away from that building. So that took me a long time to figure that out, because I had it in my head that this was the B&O line looking north, and it's actually the CHV&T line looking north back in the day. And then there was actually yeah. So let's go a little farther forward here. Let's show you right where that train is sitting. So here again is that picture. Here's the CHV&T line in red. Our green line, that's our B&O, and that picture was taken from right about here, looking north. But let's go a little farther forward, because the next thing that this talked about is this rail line, right? I'll back up. They talked about the Wellston and Jackson Beltway, and I'm like, wait a minute, what is that? And then it dawned on me, what they're calling the Wellston and Jackson Beltway is actually, again, I'll draw this picture bigger this time. So there's our green line for our B&O, our red line for our CHV&T, and you can see it goes on down. You could actually follow this road here, the Sam Russell Road. You can kind of follow that old railroad bed for a good long ways out through there. But then there was one thing that dawned on me, is what we in the area of this area of Hamden, Dundas, Benton County, we called that, I remember calling that old railroad bed the old C&O railroad bed. And so I drew this blue line here. You can see the tree line. I remember being there, that you could see this old railroad line coming across this way, coming out of Dundas and going down this way. You can see it in that tree line. And as a matter of fact, I've actually walked that old railroad bed from where I used to live in my father's home into Dundas a few times. So I'll put that blue line back up. And again, this is what we called the old C&O, which is in reference previously, it was the Wellston and Jackson Belt Railway. And if you think about it, where this runs, you can see it if you go down the long straight stretch of the Lake Alma Road. And if you're heading from 160 towards Lake Alma, on the right, you'll be able to see that old railroad bed, and it goes down and around the bottom, near the bottom of the where the Raccoon Creek is, and kind of comes around, and it basically turns into what is the bike path that runs from Lake Alma into Wellston. And so that's what this blue line is. And so with all of this information, what I'm able to do now is I'll draw you a picture. It's not to scale, but it's just to help you understand all of this stuff, and it to help me understand all of this stuff and where that building was at and where these pictures were taken from. So we have this CHV&T line that runs from Macarthur to Orton. And then you've got the B&O line that runs from Hamden to Zaleski. And from that previous picture, there was a little interchange here that connected the CHV&T to the B&O line. And this picture here was taken looking southeast. And here is where that Macarthur Junction, or the Dundas, is that's there on the side of the building. This is where that building is sitting. And so now we can lay in some of our other pictures. We can see that this picture was taken from here, looking south, southwest. This picture was taken from about here, also looking southwest, just on the other side of the tracks. This picture was taken from here, up close to the building, looking northwest. And so this final picture was taken from about right here, looking northwest. And so with that, I have finally solved the mystery of where that building used to be sitting or located. It is no longer there today, and no signs of its of where it used to be. So um, roughly 8 hours worth of work. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation and the flashback into history. I would like to toss up the some of the sources, because none of those pictures were actually mine. So here are the sources where I obtained those photos, and I'll actually drop links to the sources below in this post in this video. Thank you very much.